It's 1549 Japan, and you're born a daimyo's son in a castle crumbling under war's fist. War drums pound your skull, but your mother's whisper, "Keep your heart soft, my son," lights a spark of hope. Maybe you'll be a hero, not a butcher. Wrong. Power's a meat grinder, and you're the meat. One misstep, your clan's ash. Your head skewered on a pike. Your name spit on. Shogun? Sure, if you claw through blood, betrayal, and madness. Spoiler, victory's just a prettier grave. Every choice carves your soul into ribbons, and glory is a lie that rots with you. You're 6, torn from your mother's arms. Her voice, "Don't let them harden you," drowned by cartwheels crunching gravel. The fortress you're dumped in reeks of mold and piss. Stone walls oozing slime that chills your bones. Your bed's a straw pile, sharp as thorns, shredding your skin bloody. Food's rice crawling with weevils, sour as vomit. Choke it down or starve. You're a hostage, a pawn in your father's war. One rebellion and your throat's slit. Head boxed for his doorstep. Guards sneer, their breath rancid as corpse flesh, promising pain. At night, shadows slither, footsteps thumping. Rat or blade. You clutch a wooden horse, your mother's gift, whispering her words to keep fear at bay. At 8, they forge you into a weapon. Dawn hauls you to a courtyard, feet numb on frozen mud. You swing a wooden sword till blisters burst, blood oozing sticky. Miss a step, and a bamboo rod smashes your spine. Crack! Agony choking your screams. Weaklings rot, your master snarls. Spit flecking your face. Dust stings your eyes, air thick with sweat and dread. A rival kid smashes your wooden horse at 12, splinters stabbing your heart. Love's for losers, he laughs. You learn, care, and you bleed. Your mother's voice fades, but it lingers in dreams, pleading for kindness. At 14, you're sent home, but first, a cruel test. Bandits swarm a village, their torches painting the night red, smoke curling like demons. Amid the chaos, a peasant girl, barely 10, frail as a sparrow, huddles in the dirt, her tattered kimono stained with ash and blood. Her wide eyes, glistening with tears, lock onto yours, pleading for salvation. She clutches a broken doll, its straw guts spilling out, and whispers, "Please, save me. I have no one." Her voice trembles, soft as a dying bird, slicing your heart. You step forward to help her, but your father's voice hacks through your resolve like steel. Clan first, always. His glare burns colder than the night, promising death for defiance. The girl's cries grow frantic as a knife grazes her cheek, blood trickling like tears. She sobs, "Please, I'm scared." Each word a dagger in your chest, but you step back, blade lowering. Her eyes widen, trust shattering like glass. "No!" she wails, her voice breaking as bandits drag her into the dark, her small body thrashing, bare feet scraping mud. Her screams, shrill and gut-wrenching, echo through the burning village, fading into the crackle of flames and hyena-like laughs. The last you see is her doll, abandoned in the dirt, soaked in her blood. That night sleeps a ghost. You lie on your mat, the girl's sobs ringing in your ears, her bloodied face haunting your lids. Your mother's voice whispers in the dark, "You could have been kind." It's a knife twisting in your gut, her words heavy with the weight of what you've lost. You clench your fists, nails biting palms, burying the guilt deep. Kindness is a blade in your back, a luxury for fools. You're no boy now. You're a katana, sharp and hollow, forged for war's merciless grind. At 14, your clan's castle stinks of sweat and treachery. You learn to read lies and bow, smell betrayal in a smile, turn allies into corpses before breakfast. Your father tests you, save the village or the gold. You pick gold, watching flames devour homes, screams curling like smoke. Guilt gnaws, but you choke it down. Your mother's voice is silent, and you're glad. Heroes die, monsters rule. At 15, you lead a skirmish against a rival clan, rain pounding your armor like fists. You hack your first man, his scream shredding the air, blood spraying your face, hot and coppery. A wounded enemy, a boy your age begs for mercy, tears streaming. You freeze, heart hammering. Then you rip his throat open, blood gushing like a river, soaking your boots. That night, you vomit, not from guilt, but because your heart's a stone. You've crossed a line, your first kill, your first choice to be cruel. Your mother's voice doesn't come. You're free, and it's terrifying. At 18, you ambush a rebel family in a forest, their defiance a threat to your clan. Dawn spills red through twisted trees, air biting with pine and dread. You spot them, father, mother, boy your age, gaunt and trembling, eyes like cornered deer. The boy's whimper cuts the silence, clutching his mother. You could spare them, let them vanish. For a heartbeat, mercy flickers. Power doesn't mean blood, but weakness breeds betrayal. You raise your hand, and your men pounce like wolves, katanas slashing, blood spraying hot, bark stained crimson. The father's throat gurgles, hacked open. The mother's scream dies as steel rips her chest. You cut the boy down, his body crumpling, blood seeping into frost. The forest stills, gore dripping, coppery air stinging your lungs. Nausea chokes you, but you smirk, muttering, "Power's a butcher's game." Your men cheer, eyes probing. Did you waver? At 20, a vassal tries to gut you in your sleep, blade grazing your ribs. You don't just kill him. You flay his skin, his screams a symphony, blood pooling black. His servant, innocent, begs, eyes wide. You hack his neck, gore splattering your hands, warm as lies. Trust no one, you mutter, wiping blood on your sleeve. Shadows dance with treachery, and you clutch your katana, ears straining for whispers of death. At 25, Sekigahara in 1600 is your crucible. The battlefield's a slaughter pit, blood rivers, heads rolling like stones. Teppo shots boom, tearing your ears. Ash chokes your lungs. You betray your last friend, burying his men in mud. Their gurgled screams clawing your soul. A surrendering ally kneels, pleading. Mercy's weakness, you snarl, and butcher them, blades hacking flesh to pulp, blood misting the air. You stand atop a corpse mound, flag high, shogun to be. Victory reeks of death, and your soul's a cinder. Your mother's voice is gone, just wind howling your sins. At 26, the emperor gifts you the title of shogun, his hollow smile masking centuries of resentment. You're now shogun, but Edo's castle festers with sewage and fear, walls dripping deceit. Daimyo bow, eyes glinting like daggers. You shackle them with forced stays in Edo, draining their gold till their coffers bleed dry. A spy hisses a poison in your tea. You don't execute the cook, you disembowel him, his guts steaming on the floor, blood soaking your silk like ink. His screams echo as you watch, stomach churning. How many more plot your end? You pace your chambers, katana clutched. Every creak a killer's step, every sip a roll of dice. At 28, you crush rebels with fire and iron. You torch a village, flames devouring homes, flesh melting, whales drowned by crackling roofs. You ride through its ruins at 30, ashes swirling, bones snapping under hooves, the stench of charred death clogging your throat. You laugh at your younger self, telling your son, "Fools trust loyalty." His eyes, wide with fear, mirror yours. You forged a throne on terror, but paranoia's your true master, gnawing your mind like rats. At 32, your son's coded letters betray his plot to steal your throne. You order his death. You wield the blade. His begging eyes, your eyes burning into your soul. His neck splits, blood gushing hot. His gasps fading into silence. Your wife's screams rips your gut like a spear. Her curse of venom in your veins. That night, your mother's voice howls in the wind. Don't let them harden you. You roar at the shadows, heart a blackened husk, too far gone to care. At 35, Edo glitters with silk, but reeks of ash and lies. You crush a samurai plot, their heads impaled on spikes, ice pecked by crows, flies droning like war drums. Your laws choke Japan, but every cuff feels like a death's claw. At 37, peasants storm your lands, torches blazing, screams splitting the night. You trample them, hooves pulping skulls, blood painting your armor crimson, their curses sharper than blades. Each corpse you crush sprawls 10 more rebels, hate breeding like maggots. At 40, your body's rotting alive. Eda's fetid air poisons your lungs, hands trembling like dead leaves, skin gray as ash. You ride past that burned village's ruins, bones gleaming in moonlight, a ghost of your sins. Your mother's voice whispers, "What have you become?" You spit blood, ignoring her. Your empire's iron, but you're a walking corpse. Lords circling like vultures, smelling your decay. At 48, you mold your heir in a training hall stinking of sweat and dread. His sword trembling, brittle as his will. Your raw voice snarls. Weak kings feed worms, smashing his arm, bones grinding. His flinch hinting fear or treason. Daimyo lurk, eyes glinting like vultures, sensing your decay. Edo's toxic air sears your lungs. Each breath a blade, joints creaking like rotting wood. Fear gnaws. Is your heir too weak to rule or plotting your end? Your mother's voice begs, don't break him, but you crush it. Mercy's a noose, and your rotting carcass won't swing. At 50, your empire's a mausoleum of memories. Your castle's a crypt, silence shrieking louder than war. Everyone's dead or despises you. Wife praying for your end, kids flinching at your breath, nightmares claw at you. Your son's eyes, that burned village, your mother's voice. You could have been kind. Your hands shake, skin ashen, every cuff hacking up blood. You're Japan's god, but king of nothing but fear and emptiness. At 52, you're a corpse defying death. Your room reeks of medicine and rot, skin like soggy parchment, eyes sunk in pits. You rasp orders, but lords sneer. Your heir looms in the doorway, cold as frost, likely dreaming of your grave. Your mother's voice sighs one last time. I told you to stay soft. You choke on a laugh, blood flecking your lips. Too late, old hag. You die at 53 in 1616, rotting in Edo's filth. A god dethroned by your own decaying flesh. Your empire crumbled in a generation. Your name, dust on the wind. You were a god, but gods die too. You clawed, killed, ruled. For what? Nothing. Was it worth it? The constable's boots slugged through March mud, his fist hammering your door like a coffin nail. Witch, he growls, dragging you into Salem's cold dawn. Your bonnet catches on a splintered fence, tearing as you stumble past jeering children and grim-faced neighbors. Mud clings to your skirts, heavy as the dread in your chest. You remember Goody Proctor's smile when you nursed her son through smallpox. Now she's in the crowd, silent. The meeting house looms, its air thick with candle smoke and hate. Ann Putnam Sr. stands tall, smirking like she's won a prize. Her grudge over your family's land, not just that borrowed kettle fueling her glare. Ann Putnam Jr., her wild-eyed daughter, clutches her mother's skirts, muttering of your specter haunting her dreams, her voice as sharp as a blade. Abigail Williams, a twitchy 12-year-old, shrieks, Your specter pinched me in my dreams. Your specter? You're trembling, hands tied. But your ghost's out dancing, they say. Magistrate John Hathorne leans forward, eyes narrow. Did you sign Satan's book? What? A book? You can't read half the Bible without squinting. The crowd roars. Witch! Their voices a tide, swallowing over 200 souls. Men, women, even children dragged to this madness. 19 already swinging from ropes. One crushed under stones. Your heart sinks. How did your life, churning butter, dodging sermons, end with a noose waiting? Rewind 6 weeks, and it all started with a single stupid mistake. 6 weeks back, you're slogging through Salem, 1692, a village where the air smells of wood smoke and fear. You churn butter till your arms burn, dodge 3-hour-long sermons that drag on like winter and keep your head low. As a woman, smiling's a sin, speaking's a scandal, and living's a tightrope. Smallpox rumors keep folks jumpy, and native raids haunt the woods. The minister's voice booms of Satan's claws, his sermons painting witches behind every door, while whispers of smallpox and ambushes make neighbors see curses in every shadow. Ann Putnam Sr.'s been sour since you kept her kettle too long. Her family's greedy for your land, especially after their crops failed. You offered eggs to make peace, but she snapped. Your eyes flicker like a witch's. Then you made a dumb move. You gave Goody Proctor chamomile tea for her cough. Her cow died the next day, and she swore you hexed it. Hexed? Your chickens fight each other more than they lay eggs. Your black cat, a lazy fluff who naps on your Bible, Satan's throne, they'll claim, trailed you to market. Now it's a familiar, a demon in fur. A neighbor found a rag doll in your yard, a kid's toy, but they call it a witch's poppet to curse Goody Proctor. You try to laugh it off, but whispers spread like fire. Reverend Paris's slave, Tituba, has been spinning wild tales to the girls. Voodoo, spirits, flying. Her Caribbean stories of spirits in flight spark the girls' fever dreams, turning your tea into a potion in their eyes. You didn't listen, but those stories are a match in Salem's dry grass. Salem catches fire when Cotton Mather, the big-name preacher, thunders about Satan's claws, his sermon sparking panic. Every shadow's a witch, every cough a curse. The village hauls everyone to the meeting house for a witch hunt, and you're front and center. A neighbor points at your freckle, a mark since childhood, and calls it a witch's mark, Satan's brand. You can't sew a straight line, but they find a needle in your fence and swear it's cursed. The magistrate tries a witch cake, rye mixed with Abigail's urine, fed to a dog to sniff out your guilt. The dog yawns, but Abigail collapses, screaming your name. You pray louder than a storm, hoping to blend in, but the minister squints. Too much praying? Suspicious. You bake bread for church to prove you're good. It burns, and they whisper of Satan's loaves. At a prayer meeting, you trip on a pew, and Ann Putnam Sr. hisses. She's possessed. Ann Putnam Jr. stands on a bench, eyes blazing, shouting, "You led a coven in the woods." Her cries echoed in Andover and Topsfield, where even a 4-year-old, Dorcas Good, is chained as a witch. Abigail wails you cursed her mother's milk, her friends thrashing as if your shadow poisons their breath. You dodge a sermon to catch your breath, but in Salem, missing church is half a confession. The girls twitch, claiming your ghosts attacked them. You slip out, heart racing, but the village is a wolf pack, and you're the deer. The jail is a damp pit, stone walls dripping in mold and misery. Rusted chains cut your wrist, cold as the crowd's hate. You're shackled next to Rebecca Nurse, a grandmother humming psalms, her calm a knife in your heart. Sarah Good spits curses at the guards, her fire fading in the dark, the air's thick with rot and despair, straw crawling with rats. You think of Goody Proctor's son, how you sat by his fevered bed, spooning broth. Now she's testified, swearing your specter hexed her cow. Neighbors you prayed with, fed and laughed with, they cheer your doom. You sink against the wall, chains rattling, and tears come raw and unstoppable. No prayer, no truth, no meek bonnet will save you. Salem's eating its own, and you're the meal. A woman's cough echoes, then stills, her shadow slumped in a corner. The guards don't notice her, but you see her. Another soul lost to the jail's fever, the 5th this month. A woman weeps softly, whispering names of others taken by disease before a trial could steal their breath. The cell's a grave, swallowing the living, and you wonder if your name will join theirs, forgotten in this festering dark. Guards storm in, their lanterns flickering like a bad omen. "Name your coven," they bark, offering life for betrayal. Life? In this hole, that's no prize. You whisper, "It was just tea for Goody Proctor." They sneer, "Satan's brew." Tituba, haunched in a corner, mutters about voodoo, her forced confession, tales of flying in spirits igniting this madness. She meets your eyes, haunted, warning you to stay silent. You're no traitor. You barely know who lives next door. The rats scamper, free in a way you aren't, and you're stuck here, starving and cold. Rebecca's voice, soft but steady, urges you to hold on, but the weight's crushing. Another cow's dead, another kid's dreaming of your specter, and you're Salem's scapegoat, bleeding in chains. The meeting house is a madhouse, candle smoke burning your eyes, the air heavy with sweat and rage. Magistrate John Hathorne lists your crimes. Goody Proctor's dead cow, Abigail's dream pinches, your freckle called a witch's teat. Since you were a kid, that freckle's been there, not Satan's mark. Ann Putnam Jr., the wild-eyed teen, screams you rode a broom and spoiled her porridge. Spoiled porridge. You'd kill for a decent meal, but now Salem's killing you over spoiled oats. Abigail and her friends collapse, wailing. Your specter chokes them. A sneeze sparks cries of cursed air. They try a touch test. If Abigail calms when you touch her, you're guilty. Your shaky hand brushes her. She flops, shrieking Satan's commands. The crowd howls, fed by Cotton Mather's sermons. Ann Putnam Sr. grins. She'll grab your land, her family eyeing your fields like vultures, as whispers hint Hathorne's kin profits from witch seizures. You cry, "I'm innocent." Hathorne snaps, "Witches lie." It's like shouting at a wall that wants you dead. Tituba's in the shadows, her confession saving her but dooming others. Giles Corey's silence, crushed under stones, echoes in your head. Rebecca Nurse's calm faith haunts you. The verdict hits. Guilty. On Gallows Hill, the hangman tests the ropes, muttering prayers as crows circle above. A guard mutters of a new court, one banning dream visions as evidence, freeing dozens, but not you, not now. The rope's rough, biting your neck. You see your cat in your mind, napping by the hearth you'll never see. Salem's muddy streets sprawl below, the gray sky endless. The crowd chants, "Witch," but you're quiet, no fight left. A fleeting thought grips you. Confession could spare you, like Tituba. The trapdoor creaks, your breath catches. Then a voice cuts through the din. "She's confessed!" The rope slackens, your throat burns. The crowd murmurs, confused, their bloodlust stalled. You're alive, but Salem's shadow clings tighter than any noose. Shoved into the street in 1693, you're free. Governor Phipps's ban on spectral evidence has unraveled Salem's lies, leaving witches like you and Tituba as scarred, weary women. No pardon, no apology. Just a broken village turning its back. You touch your neck, the rope's ghost choking you with whispers. Witch. Unclean. Your fields are weeds, your name poison. In Boston, you hide your face. Every cough draws witch whispers. Ann Putnam Sr. glares as if you cursed her land deal. Neighbors bolt their doors like you're the plague. If you didn't confess, your ghost drifts on Gallows Hill. Your grave lost to time, wind howling through Salem's wounds. Judge Samuel Sewall weeps in church, sorry for the blood. Sorry. Ask Rebecca Nurse's spirit, or Giles Corey's broken bones. The Putnams took your land. Hathorne grew rich, and Cotton Mather mutters about mistakes. Mistakes? Their trials were a scam. Confessions sparking more arrests. Magistrates building wealth while Salem's scars draw strangers. Their footsteps echoing where you fell. Fear turned friends to foes, and that curse lives on, chasing new witches in new towns. Your story's a warning scratched in history. When fear rules, innocence burns. Somewhere, your cat prowls Salem's fields, plotting revenge. You'd smile if you could. You're being rolled up in a carpet that reeks of camel sweat and exotic oils. Two men lift you like a piece of furniture, struggling under the weight. Breathe lightly. Stay quiet. One wrong move, and it's over. Outside, soldiers stomp around Alexandria searching for you. Your own brother's men. Your own husband's men. Same person, actually. Family's complicated. The men carrying you approach a Roman military checkpoint. Your heart pounds against the dusty fabric. This is either the most brilliant power move in history or the stupidest way to die. 50-50. Delivery for General Caesar, your smuggler announces, his voice steady despite carrying a fugitive queen. You're bumped through doorways, upstairs, past voices speaking Latin, then suddenly you're dropped onto cold marble. The carpet unrolls. Julius Caesar, Rome's most feared general, stares down at you with raised eyebrows. Behind him, your brother's advisors freeze mid-sentence, jaws hanging. Nobody expected this entrance. I need to speak with you, you tell Caesar in perfect Latin, alone. Rewind 21 years. You pop into existence as the third child of Pharaoh Ptolemy XII, a man whose family tree is a circle. The Ptolemies have been keeping it in the family since forever. Your grandparents? Siblings. Great-grandparents? Also siblings. Family reunions are just regular dinners. Your first words are in Greek. Your second words are threats to the servants. By age 7, you speak 7 languages while other kids are eating sand. Each new tongue is another weapon in your arsenal. Why stab someone when you can insult their mother in their native language? At 10, you watch your father get chased out of Egypt by an angry mob. Lesson 1 in politics. Popularity isn't permanent. 3 years later, he returns with Roman backup. The same person who threw stones are now groveling. Lesson 2. Friends with swords beat enemies with principles. Your education isn't reading and arithmetic. It's how to survive the world's deadliest family reunion. Your older sister tried taking the throne twice. Now she's dead. Your other sister, Arsinoe, watches you at dinner with murder eyes. Only one of you will make it to the sequel. Dad dies when you're 18. His will pairs you with your 10-year-old brother as co-rulers. Also as husband and wife. Because nothing says stable government like marrying someone who still wets the bed. The kid could barely feed himself, but now he's your king and husband. Ancient Egypt, where keep it in the family is literally the law. 3 months in, your brother's advisors stage a coup. The king has decided to rule alone, announces the head snake, surrounded by guards. You're wearing enough jewelry to sink a battleship and have 0 allies in the room, but hey, no pressure. You don't panic. You smile, excuse yourself, and escape that night with some gold and your best eyeliner. Your brother's men chase you to the border. Civil war erupts. For months, neither side wins. Then Julius Caesar shows up in Alexandria, Rome's most powerful general and the man who just won a brutal civil war. Your brother, thinking he's slick, kills Caesar's enemy Pompey and presents him the head. Caesar's disgusted. Even in ancient Rome, there's such a thing as too thirsty. News reaches your hideout in a fishing village. You see your shot. Caesar's staying in the royal palace. Your palace. He hasn't picked sides yet. Time to make an entrance he'll never forget. You find a loyal merchant, trim a luxury carpet to size, and touch up your makeup. Sometimes to get ahead in life, you have to be willing to play dead in a rug. The carpet unfolds. You strike a pose that screams, I'm a goddess, not a FedEx package. Caesar's men reach for their swords, but Caesar waves them off. He's intrigued. Score 1 for dramatic entrances. You speak perfect Latin, explaining your brother's coup with just enough victim energy to seem sympathetic, but enough steel to seem worth backing. It's a masterclass in political theater. Caesar's hooked. Your brother's advisors realize they've just been outplayed by a woman who arrived as home decor. Their faces could curdle milk. The old one, Pothinus, looks like he swallowed a scorpion. Delicious. Within days, you're installed in the palace alongside Caesar. Your brother throws a tantrum. His advisors raise an army. Alexandria erupts in riots. Caesar's forces are outnumbered, trapped in the royal quarter. Just another Tuesday in the Ptolemy family. The great library of Alexandria catches fire during the fighting. Thousands of scrolls turn to ash. Future historians will never shut up about this. You've got bigger problems, like not dying. The siege lasts months. You and Caesar bond over strategy sessions that turn into something more intimate. Nothing says romance like planning your brother's downfall while dodging assassination attempts. Roman reinforcements finally arrive. Your brother tries to escape by boat, but drowns in the harbor wearing gold armor. Darwin Award, Ancient Egypt edition. Your younger sister Arsinoe also tried claiming the throne during the chaos. Caesar captures her alive, which isn't your preference, but he promises to parade her through Rome in chains, which is almost as good as dead. Now you're back on the throne, this time with the world's most powerful general as your lover. Power couple goals. Your Instagram would break the ancient world. Caesar installs you and your even younger brother, Ptolemy XIV, as co-rulers. Another brother husband, another child. At least this one knows better than to cross you. The last model took an unscheduled swimming accident. Your relationship with Caesar isn't just pillow talk. It's strategy. It's politics. It's Caesar waking up thinking he's making all the decisions while you planted the ideas in his head the night before. Classic. You get pregnant. Power move. Other women get jewelry from their boyfriends. You get an empire and a dynasty. Caesar brings you to Rome, installing you in his villa. The Romans are clutching their pearls so hard they're turning to dust. A foreign queen in our Rome? The horror. You give birth to a son, Caesarion, Little Caesar. Your backup plan with a heartbeat. The living proof of your connection to the most powerful man in the world. Insurance policy, tiny human edition. Caesar throws you parade after parade, erects a golden statue of you in the Temple of Venus. Roman senators watch in alarm as their general goes full simp for a foreign queen. Red flags everywhere. Meanwhile, back home, you got Egypt running like a Swiss watch. The harvest is good, the taxes flow. You're building monuments and expanding temples while ruling through representatives. Remote work, Pharaoh style. You're in Rome with Caesar on the Ides of March when a group of senators decides they've had enough of him. They stab him 23 times on the Senate floor. History's most violent group project. Just like that, your protector's gone. Your lover is gone. Your political alliance is lying in a pool of blood. The same senators are eyeing you like you're next. You don't wait for the funeral. You grab your kid, your gold, and get the hell out of Rome before Caesar's body is cold. Back to Egypt, where at least the enemies are familiar. Rome plunges into another civil war. Because why not? Caesar's assassins versus his allies. You watch from afar, calculating your next move. Your son is Caesar's only living child, but Rome will never accept an Egyptian king with a foreign mother. You need a new Roman ally. Someone powerful, someone malleable. Someone like Caesar's right-hand man, Mark Antony. Time to reapply that eyeliner. Mark Antony and Octavian, Caesar's adopted son, divide the Roman world between them. Antony gets the east, which includes your neighborhood. He summons you to meet him in Tarsus. Power move. You leave him on red for weeks. When you finally decide to show up, you don't just arrive. You make an entrance that would make Beyonce look low effort. You sail up the river on a golden barge with purple sails. Dressed as Aphrodite, silver leaf oars, perfumed winds, servants dressed as cherubs. Flex much? Antony, waiting on the dock like a chump, watches his masculinity evaporate in real time. The guy who fought his way through Gaul is now giggling like a teenager. Mission accomplished. You invite him to dinner, then another, then another. Each feast more extravagant than the last. Antony thinks he's seducing you. Meanwhile, you're 3 moves ahead, picking out his future job title, Cleopatra's butler. His soldiers start calling him Cleopatra's butler. Ouch. Unlike Caesar, the calculated political genius, Antony's more like a frat boy with an army. All muscle, swagger, and drinking stories. But he controls half of the Roman world, so you work with what you've got. You hook up. It's business and pleasure. Mostly business for you. Mostly pleasure for him. You've done this dance before with a better partner, but the song remains the same. Antony needs Egyptian grain and gold for his military campaigns. You need Roman muscle to secure your throne. Perfect match. You become his official side piece, despite his marriage to Octavian's sister back in Rome. Awkward family dinners ahead. You get pregnant again. Twins this time. Overachiever. You named them Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene. Sun and moon. Subtle. While Octavian rules from Rome, building support and spreading rumors about Antony being whipped, you and Antony carve up the Eastern Mediterranean between shots of wine. Armenia, yours. Syria, yours. Cilicia, yours. It's like Monopoly, except the properties are real countries. And landing on go to jail means an actual execution. You host the legendary bet banquet where you dissolve a priceless pearl in vinegar and drink it to win a wager. $1 million cocktail. The Romans are scandalized. The Egyptians are impressed. Your accountant is having a stroke. You convince Antony to publicly acknowledge Caesarion as Caesar's legitimate heir. Octavian, who based his entire political career on being Caesar's son, takes this personally. Very personally. As in, I'm willing to raise an army and kill you both personally. Back in Rome, Antony's reputation tanks. Octavian's propaganda machine works overtime. Antony's gone native. He's abandoned Roman values. He gave Roman territory to a foreign queen. All technically true, which makes it worse. The final straw, Antony divorces Octavian's sister. It's the ancient version of breaking up via text, except this text comes with a war declaration. War is inevitable. Octavian declares it officially against you. Not Antony. Smart move. Romans love fighting foreigners more than other Romans. He paints you as the evil seductress corrupting noble Antony, history's most successful smear campaign. You and Antony assemble your forces at Actium in Greece. Your fleet versus Octavian's fleet. Winner takes the Roman world. The battle's going fine. Not great, not terrible. Then you make a fatal decision. You signal your ships to retreat. Maybe to preserve your forces for another day. Antony sees your ship leaving and abandons his own men to follow it. Facepalm. The entire battle collapses. Your forces are routed. Antony's men surrender or defect. Game over. You race back to Egypt with Octavian in pursuit. You fake your death to test his loyalty. He reacts by immediately stabbing himself. Toxic couple of the century. Plot twist, you're still alive. When they bring his bleeding body to your hideout, he dies in your arms. Shakespeare's taking notes. Tragedy goldmine unlocked. Octavian arrives in Alexandria. No more cards to play. He wants you alive for his triumph parade in Rome. The ultimate humiliation. Hard pass. You request a final visit to Antony's tomb. You bathe, dress in your finest royal robes, eat a last luxurious meal. A peasant brings you a basket of figs with a special delivery hidden underneath. You dismiss your servants except for 2 trusted handmaidens. You write a final letter asking to be buried with Antony. Then you reach for the basket and find the asp, a venomous snake concealed beneath the fruit. You press it to your breast. The venom works quickly. No chains, no parades, no humiliation. Your last power move. Octavian's men storm in. Too late. You're already gone. One hand curled around the golden couch, lips slightly parted, body still radiating power. Octavian wanted to parade you in chains. Instead, he got a corpse that still outmaneuvers him in death. 2,000 years later, they're still telling your story, though they usually focus on who you slept with rather than the fact that you ruled Egypt for decades and spoke 7 languages. Figures. You're 19, tied to a wooden stake, rough rope cutting into your wrists. The flames lick at your ankles. You can smell your own hair singeing, taste smoke and terror on your tongue. The crowd's roaring, some hurling curses, some sobbing, but most just hungry for the show. Your executioner's torch feels like the sun itself, and all you did was try to save France. The twisted irony? This moment was inevitable from the second you drew your first breath. Rewind to 1412. Domremy, a village so small it doesn't even have a proper name on most maps. You're born into a world that's already marked you for death. You just don't know it yet. Your village reeks of fear and cow dung. A charming combination. You can hear the war drums echoing from miles away. Feel the ground shake when English cavalry thunders past. The church bells don't ring for prayers anymore. They're warning signals. Your life? Wake up, pray, work the fields, repeat. Your diet's stale bread and prayers. Meats for lords who wouldn't spit on you. Your dad, Jacques, is a farmer with a temper. Your mom, Isabelle, is obsessed with saints. They've got big plans to marry you off by 16. Spoiler, you're not into it. You've got bigger fish to fry, like saving an entire kingdom. At 13, everything changes. You're in the garden, dirt under your fingernails, sweat stinging your eyes from the brutal summer heat. Then, bang, the air crackles like lightning, and glowing figures appear. The temperature drops so fast that you can see your breath. St. Michael, Catherine, and Margaret appear out of thin air, their voices ringing in your skull like cathedral bells. Your knees hit the ground so hard you'll have bruises for weeks, but you can't look away from their burning eyes. They tell you to kick the English out of France and crown a king. No pressure, right? Divine voices? Either God's got a wild plan or you ate some seriously bad rye bread. You decide it's the former. These saints keep showing up, nagging you like celestial helicopter parents to save a country that's been at war for decades. France is split. English and Burgundians on one side, your Dauphin Charles on the other, barely hanging on to his crown and his sanity. You try telling people about your voices. Big mistake. Your dad thinks you're nuts. The neighbors whisper, "Witch." A teenage girl saving France? Yeah, that'll go over like a lead balloon. The 100 Years' War is torching villages, and you're hearing actual screams and smelling actual smoke from raids. Your divine calling comes with a soundtrack of human suffering. Your voices aren't just inspiration. They're a burden that makes you the village weirdo. Everyone doubts you, but you're not backing down. You're Joan, and you're about to turn this war-torn world upside down. Buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride to either glory or the stake. Fast forward to 16. You're a peasant girl with voices in your head, trekking to Vauquelin to beg Robert de Baudricourt for an escort to the Dauphin. A nobody asking a lord for help? He laughs you off. Twice. You're back in 1428, spouting prophecies about French defeats like some medieval Nostradamus. Third time's the charm. You predict the loss at the Battle of the Herrings, and boom, it happens. Suddenly, Baudricourt's not laughing. He hands you a horse and some soldiers. Game on. Now 17, you're dressed in men's clothes. Practical for survival, sure, but it's gonna bite you in the ass later. You ride 11 days through enemy territory to Chinon, dodging English patrols like some medieval action hero. One wrong move and you're dead, or worse. You reach Charles VII's court, a den of snobby nobles who smell better than they act. The Dauphin's disguised to trick you. Cute party game, but you walk right up, call him out, and spill secrets only he knows. Mic drop moment. You're a teenager with zero combat training, asking for an army. Bold move, Joan. Priests and scholars grill you for weeks, sniffing for heresy like bloodhounds. Here's the kicker. You're a peasant girl who can't read, but you're outsmarting them all with divine confidence and razor-sharp wit. Your voices, they're real, and you're not backing down. France needs you, and you're ready to prove it. Time to saddle up. War's calling. It's May 1429, and you're 17, strapped into white armor, waving a banner like a medieval rock star. Welcome to the Siege of Orleans. The English have the city choked, but you're dodging arrows, rallying troops, and screaming at generals to move faster. No military training? No problem. You've got divine guidance. Or maybe just beginner's luck and balls of steel. 9 days later, Orleans is free. The French are calling you the Maid of Orleans, and you're eating up the glory like a starving peasant at a feast. Next stop, steamrolling the English at La Campagne. Yargaux, Mung, Pâté. You're racking up wins like a pro. The French soldiers follow you like you're God's personal messenger, hanging on your every word. Your voices told you to liberate the law, and you're delivering with interest. By July, you're standing proud in Reims as Charles VII gets his crown on July 17, 1429. You did it. Mission accomplished, right? Wrong. The war's still raging, and glory comes with a price tag that you haven't seen yet. September brings your push for Paris, charging the gates like a woman possessed. But reality checks in. An arrow slams into your leg. And Charles, that ungrateful bastard you just crowned, calls it quits. You're bleeding, begging to keep fighting. But His Majesty says no. The first whiff of betrayal hits your nostrils. France is buzzing. Your name's on every tongue, from peasants to nobles. You're a living legend. The girl who turned the tide of the 100 Years' War. But here's the thing about legends. They make enemies. The English and their Burgundian allies are pissed, and they're plotting your downfall. Your white armor's shining bright, but the shadows are creeping in. You're on top of the world, but the higher you climb, the harder you fall. May 1430, Compiègne. One moment you're charging like the fearless mid, banner high and spirits higher. The next, Burgundians yank you off your horse like you're a sack of grain. Captured. They don't see a hero, just a prize with a price tag. They sell you to the English for a fat stack of gold, because loyalty is about as valuable as peasant promises in medieval politics. You're 18, and the people you saved France for just cashed you out like a gambling chip. Now you're locked in a Rouen tower, surrounded by English guards who leer like you're their next meal. You stick to men's clothes, not for fashion, but to keep their grabby hands off. It's your only armor now, and even that's a crime in their kangaroo court. Charles, the king you crowned, he's too busy sipping wine and playing politics to send a rescue party. You're on your own, abandoned by the guys who owe you everything. Desperation hits hard.
You leap from a 70-foot tower, hoping for a miracle escape. Spoiler alert, you don't stake the landing. Bruised, battered, and back in chains, you're staring down a future that's looking grimmer by the day. The English want you dead. The Burgundians are counting their coins. And your former king has selective amnesia. You're still hearing her voices, urging you to stay strong. But the walls, literal and metaphorical, are closing in. Rock bottom? You're about to find out it has a basement. January 1431. Rouen. You're 19, chained in a courtroom facing 70 charges. Heresy, witchcraft, and the heinous crime of wearing pants. The English and their puppet bishop, Pierre Cauchon, have rigged this trial tighter than a medieval chastity belt. These aren't holy men. They're political assassins in robes, desperate to eliminate a French icon who's made them look like fools. Bishops and scholars throw trick questions to trap you, but you're dodging their verbal arrows like a pro. Outsmarting a room of priests at 19? Not bad for a peasant who can't read, but can spot bullshit from a mile away. They scream you're a witch for your voices. You fire back, my saints are real, and God's on my side. The courtroom's stunned, the Cauchons seething. Cross-dressing's their smoking gun, as they ran out of actual crimes. On May 24th, they drag you to a cemetery, threaten to burn you immediately. Terror grips you. You're still human after all. You sign a paper saying you lied about your voices, hoping to buy time. But the moment you do, your world crumbles. Your saints feel distant, your purpose hollow. The betrayal of your own beliefs cuts deeper than any sword. For days, you wrestle with crushing guilt and spiritual emptiness. Then, clarity strikes. You'd rather die true to yourself than live as a lie. You ditch the dress, put the men's clothes back on, and reclaim your identity. May 30, 1431. You're tied to a stake in Rouen's marketplace. The English love you so much they're throwing you a bonfire. As flames climb, you're shouting for God, clutching a cross, unyielding to the end. The crowd's sobbing, some soldiers too. But it's too late. You're 19 and the fire takes you. You saved France, defied a king, and shook an empire. But this isn't Hollywood. Heroes don't always get happy endings, especially when they're inconvenient truths wrapped in peasant clothes. Your voices fall silent, but your name? It's about to echo through eternity. You're gone, but the world can't let you go. In 1456, Pope Calixtus III calls your trial a sham. Innocent, huh? Thanks for the memo, Church. Only 25 years late to the party. By 1920, you're Saint Joan, patron of France, soldiers, and every dreamer with guts. Most teenagers can't handle doing laundry. You became a saint. You're a feminist icon, spitting in the face of medieval patriarchy. War hero? You flipped the 100 Years' War. Pop culture star? From Christine de Pizan's poems to the Passion of Joan of Arc, you're everywhere. Statues, films, French flags waving in your honor. It's 2025, and 6 centuries later, we're sprawled on fluffy couches, scrolling 6-inch smartphones, still talking about you. You saved France at 19, gave Charles his crown, and sparked the nation's fight for independence. But you paid with your life, burned for being authentically, uncompromisingly yourself. Your fire? It's still blazing through every rebel and underdog who hears your name and thinks, if she could do it. Joan, you're eternal, and eternally pissed off at how unfair it all was.
You're dangling from a rain-slicked monastery wall in Northumbria, and your life choices are seriously questionable right now. The stone crumbles under your fingers like week-old bread, and below you, a dozen angry Anglo-Saxon guards are having what appears to be a heated debate about whether to turn you into a pincushion with their arrows, or just wait for gravity to do the job. Decide quickly, farm boy, growls Bjorn Ironhand from the longship bobbing in the harbor below. Either you prove you're worth the space on my ship, or you can swim home to Norway. Your former life of peacefully herding sheep seems really appealing right now, at least until you remember how they ate your best tunic when you weren't looking. The crew's betting mead rations on your survival chances, which is just great for morale. He's about as useful as a chocolate axe head, someone shouts from the ship. You'd be offended if you weren't so busy trying not to die. Your village elder's words echo in your head, how the gods had chosen you for the raiding party. Funny how they always seem to choose the skinniest farmer's sons instead of the elder's own well-fed offspring. The golden cross gleams above you, probably wondering how its peaceful monastery life turned into an impromptu Viking recruitment exercise. Well, if you're going to die anyway, might as well do it in style. Your next move better be good, because unlike those farming simulation games you used to play, this one doesn't come with a reload button. Turns out Vikings don't exactly have a gentle onboarding process. You managed to steal the cross and only took 1 arrow in the leg doing it, but now comes the real test, proving you belong on this ship of professionally violent lunatics. Your first lesson? Everything on a longship is trying to kill you. The ropes, the oars, the waves, and especially that suspiciously smiling veteran showing you the ropes, literally. Row faster, sheephugger, Bjorn bellows as you strain against an oar that fights you harder than your old ram during shearing season. Your muscles scream like they're being murdered by angry trolls. This isn't your grandmother's butter churning. Actually, you've met his grandmother. She could probably outrow the entire crew. The ship rocks violently and your breakfast decides it prefers life in the ocean. Your new crewmates find your seasickness hilarious. The crew's split between he'll die by Tuesday and he'll die by Wednesday. Only Halfdan bet on he'll survive, though you later learn he always bets against the crowd, since that one time everyone thought he'd die from an axe to the head. I want enough silver to buy my own ship, he grins, tapping the metal plate in his skull. Look, he's feeding the fish again. They've got a betting pool on how many times you'll throw up before reaching Denmark. The current record is 17, and you're determined to break it. At least the fish are well fed. You're creating your own little underwater following. Your first fans, someone jokes. If only your fans didn't smell like herring. Training isn't much better. That's your head, not your sword arm, your instructor Halfdan growls after you nearly decapitate yourself during sword practice. I've seen better footwork from a three-legged goat. The bruises are forming constellations on your body. You could probably navigate by them at this point. Old Helga, the crew's healer, has 2 solutions for everything. Either rub it with fermented fish paste, or wait till it falls off. You're never quite sure if she means the bandage or the limb. Still, better than farming though. At least here, when something tries to kill you, it's honest about it. The surprising part, you're actually getting better. Your sword doesn't feel like a lead weight anymore, and you've finally figured out which end of the axe is the dangerous one. Progress! Even Bjorn notices. Well, farm boy, he grunts after you manage to block his attack without falling overboard. Maybe you won't die immediately in your first real fight. Coming from him, that's practically a marriage proposal. Your first real raid comes faster than expected, like most near-death experiences in Viking life. The target is a coastal village that probably wasn't expecting its peaceful fishing morning to include longships. Remember, Bjorn announces, we're here to raid, not redecorate, and try not to die. The paperwork is awful. Turns out Vikings have HR issues too, just with more axes involved. The landing beach looks about as welcoming as a bear's dental appointment. Local defenders are already forming ranks, and you're pretty sure your legs shouldn't be shaking this much. The veteran next to you, Eric One-Eye, creative naming isn't a Viking strength, notices your terror. First raid jitters, he grins. Just pretend they're angry sheep. Easy for him to say, your sheep never carried spears. Everything becomes chaos faster than your sister's wedding after too much mead. You're swinging your sword like your life depends on it, because it does, when you spot a defender trying to flank Bjorn. Without thinking, you tackle the man into a conveniently placed pile of fish. Nice move, farm boy, Bjorn shouts. Though maybe next time less fish, more sword. After that day, you earn a new status, the Viking who saved Bjorn's back, and only mostly smells like herring. Not exactly a saga-worthy title, but it's a start. Turns out, raiding is the easy part of Viking life. Winter in Scandinavia, that's the real enemy. The cold bites harder than a hangry wolf, and your beard has more icicles than hair. Eric demonstrates proper Viking winterization by coating his beard in seal fat. Keeps the icicles out, he proudly declares, right before a seagull mistakes his beard for lunch and dive bombs his face. And apparently attracts birds, he adds, spitting out feathers. Stop complaining, he continues, watching you chip frozen seawater off the ship's side while trying to maintain his dignity. This is nothing. Last winter was so cold we had to thaw our words over the fire before anyone could hear them. The crew's solution to everything is either mead or those horrifically fermented fish that smell like death took a vacation in a barrel. Eat up, Halfdan grins, offering you something that might have been a fish in its past life. Builds character. You're pretty sure it's building something, but character isn't your first guess. Between the mysterious healing potions and old Helga's walk-it-off approach to medicine, you're starting to think Viking healthcare consists entirely of not dying until your body figures out what to do. Your first command comes during a raid that's going about as well as a blind giant in a pottery shop. The storm hit just as you reached the English coast, because of course it does. Half the ships are scattered, Bjorn's unconscious from a wave-thrown barrel, and suddenly everyone's looking at you like you're supposed to know what to do. Well, farm boy, Eric shouts over the wind. You've been watching Bjorn, what's the play? Great. Your first leadership opportunity, and it's during what feels like Ragnarok's wet dress rehearsal. You'd really prefer to start with something easier, like organizing mead hall seating arrangements. Time for some creative problem solving. You order the ships to use the storm's fury instead of fighting it, riding the massive waves into the harbor like nature's own battering ram. Either we'll make a spectacular entrance, you yell, or we'll give the fish something to tell their children stories about. The crew's laughter is half terror, half approval. The perfect Viking emotional blend. The storm delivers you over the harbor's defensive chains, and suddenly you're not just the farm boy anymore, you're the madman who turned certain death into victory. In Viking terms, that's the best kind of promotion. 20 years pass like a hangover after a successful raid, quickly, painfully, and with lots of interesting scars to show for it. You've earned your own ship, a crew that mostly follows orders, and a reputation that doesn't involve the word farm boy anymore. They call you Storm Rider now, though Eric still jokes it should be Fish Tackler after that first raid. You're leading your own raid when you spot a familiar sight, a young recruit dangling from a wall, looking about as confident as a chicken in a fox den. The crew's betting on whether he'll fall, and suddenly you're remembering your own first raid. Give him a chance, you tell the veterans. Some of them grumble. You distinctly hear, going soft, and probably another sheep hugger. The kid makes it, though his landing looks like a drunk goose trying to ice skate. Welcome to the Viking life, you say, helping him up. First lesson, the ground is harder than it looks. The crew laughs, but you notice them shifting subtly closer, protective. They might act tough, but Vikings take care of their own, even the clumsy ones who smell suspiciously like sheep. That's when you spot the glint of arrowheads in the morning sun. The monastery wasn't as undefended as your scouts reported. You shove the recruit aside just as the first volley hits. The arrow that finds your chest would probably hurt more if you weren't so annoyed at the irony. 20 years of surviving everything the world threw at you, only to be done in by an act of kindness. Odin has a twisted sense of humor. Your last moments are exactly what you'd expect from a Viking life. Chaotic, painful, and somehow still funny. The recruit you saved is trying to help, though his idea of first aid looks more like panicked chicken dancing. Stop fussing, you tell him. I've had worse. You haven't, actually, but dying men get to lie a little. The sky darkens. Either Thor is throwing a farewell party, or that head wound is worse than you thought. Through the haze of pain, you see them, the Valkyries gliding down from the storm clouds on horses made of lightning and mist. They're somehow both beautiful and terrifying, just like the Viking life you chose. You think about your journey from terrified farmer to Viking commander. All those near deaths and actual deaths, the raids, the storms, the absolutely terrible fermented fish. You know what really sucks about living as a Viking? You mutter to no one in particular. The dying part is actually the easiest bit. The last thing you see is the young recruit picking up your sword, holding it like he's afraid it might bite, just like you did once upon a time. The Valkyries approach, their weapons gleaming with otherworldly light. Time for your final raid. This one to Odin's Great Hall. Not bad for a farm boy who once thought the scariest thing in life was angry sheep.
Welcome to Sparta, where your first achievement is simply surviving the world's toughest job interview, being born. Congrats, you passed the initial screening. Your twin brother, not so much. See, in Sparta, babies don't get cute little future leader onesies. They get a full performance review by the Council of Elders. One quick look at your twin's below standard build and he gets the ancient equivalent of thank you for your application. A one-way trip to Mount Taygetos. Your first memory isn't of loving cuddles or soft blankets. It's your mother's stern face as she bathes you in wine instead of water. Sparta's first test of strength. They believe that the wine bath will either make you stronger or reveal weakness. Congratulations, you just passed your second performance review, and you're not even a month old. While other Greek babies are being showered with gifts and affection, you're getting the full Spartan premium package. Sleeping alone to handle darkness. No swaddling to toughen up those limbs, and absolutely no coddling. Your crib mobile? Probably a mini sword collection. Your lullaby? The sound of soldiers marching. Your first 7 years at home are basically an extended warm-up for the real fun that's coming. Forget toys and alphabet lessons. You got baby burpees and miniature military drills to master. Every time you complain about something being too hard, your mother just points at Mount Taygetos in the distance. Nothing ends a tantrum quite like a reminder that you're lucky to be having one at all. So enjoy these first 7 years, and we use enjoy very loosely here, because soon you'll be joining Sparta's innovative character building program, where the building materials are pain, discipline, and enough hardship to make modern military boot camp look like a luxury spa retreat. Happy 7th birthday. Instead of presents and cake, you get an eviction notice from your own home. Welcome to the Agoge, where character building means breaking you down to rebuild you as a proper Spartan, and orientation day is basically the Hunger Games, minus the fun parts. Your first day starts with getting your head shaved and being handed with what can generously be called clothing. One thin cloak that's supposed to last you all year. Spoiler alert, Sparta doesn't believe in seasonal wardrobes. Winter? Just another opportunity to prove you're not weak. Food becomes your new obsession, mainly because there's so little of it. The portions are deliberately small to encourage creative food acquisition. That's fancy Spartan talk for stealing. Just don't get caught, or you'll learn why Spartan discipline isn't a fun workout routine. Your new classmates, they're not your friends, they're your future battle unit. Imagine the most intense group project ever, where failing doesn't mean a bad grade, it means collective punishment. You learn real quick that teamwork makes the dream work isn't just a cute saying. It's the difference between eating and starving. Training dominates your life from dawn to dusk, interrupted only by lessons in music. Yes, really, Spartans believe it helps with battle coordination. Reading, just enough to understand orders, and how to reply to any question with the shortest possible answer. Spartans invented minimalism way before it was cool. This is just level 1 of your Spartan education game. Like every poorly designed video game, each level just gets harder, and there are no cheat codes or save points. Get some sleep on your bed of reeds. Tomorrow, you get to learn why they call it endurance training. And trust me, you'll need every ounce of rest you can get. Your teenage years bring a special upgrade. Welcome to Sparta's elite training program. Think of it as the world's first extreme boot camp, minus the motivational speeches and plus a whole lot more character building opportunities. Philosophy and poetry? That's for the soft kids in Athens. Food is now a full contact sport. The mess hall is basically an ancient version of Battle Royale, and your daily food allowance is so small they might as well have called it a food suggestion. Stealing isn't just encouraged, it's practically part of the curriculum. Just don't get caught unless you enjoy public beatings as a side dish. Speaking of public spectacles, let's talk about everyone's favorite annual event, the whipping contest at the altar of Artemis Orthia. Come one, come all, to witness teenagers competing to see who can endure the most lashes without making a sound. Some contestants have literally died trying to win. Talk about dedication to the craft. Your training gets serious too. No more wooden swords, now you're working with a real deal. Those battle formations drills you learned as a kid, now you do them while people are actively trying to stab you. Your one cloak is still your only protection against the elements, because apparently Spartan warriors need to be weatherproof. But here's the real fun part. You're starting to glimpse your future role in the Cryptea. Those upperclassmen who disappeared for days at a time, you're about to learn what they were really doing. Well, that's the story for your next life chapter, assuming you survive puberty, Spartan style. Because in Sparta, teenage rebellion isn't about sneaking out to parties. It's about secretly hoping for a day without a near-death experience. Congratulations on reaching your 20s. Time to enter the most secretive phase of Spartan life, the Cryptea. Think of it as ninja training meets state security. Except failure means more than just a career setback. Starting a family and business can wait. You've got some night stalking to do. Your new uniform? It makes your previous one-cloak wardrobe look luxurious. Minimal clothing, basic sandals, and just a small dagger. You're dressed for success, Spartan stealth style. The winter winds cut right through your thin garments as you move through the countryside like a shadow. Turns out there's a reason they call it bare minimum equipment. Emphasis on the bare. Home is now wherever you can hide without being spotted. Sleeping happens during the day, hidden in caves or undergrowth. Nighttime is for maintaining social order through means that would make modern HR departments faint. The helots know you're out there, which is exactly the point. Oh, and somewhere in between all of this, you're expected to get married. Don't get too excited, you still can't live with your wife. Try explaining to her why you keep disappearing at night half naked with a dagger. It's definitely not your typical newlywed phase. The best part? Lifestyle comes with zero creature comforts. No warm beds, no hot meals, no shelter during storms. Your performance metrics include ability to survive winter without footwear, and effectiveness at appearing and disappearing like a ghost. But hey, you're almost at full citizenship. Just a few more years of this character building exercise and you'll finally get to live like a normal person. Well, as normal as life gets in Sparta. Congratulations, you've hit the big 3-0, which in Sparta means you finally get your full citizenship card. After 23 years of training, surviving, and proving yourself, you've earned the right to keep serving Sparta with just slightly better living conditions. It's like getting a promotion where your main reward is more responsibility. Finally, you can move out of the barracks and live at home. But don't get too excited. You're still expected to show up for military duties and public meals. Think of it as having a permanent on-call job where the phone is always ringing. Except instead of a phone, it's a messenger telling you to grab your spear. Those famous Spartan men's dining clubs, they're not exactly your friendly neighborhood potluck. Every meal is a performance review. And if you can't afford your share of the infamous black broth soup, you could lose your citizenship faster than you can say, "Check, please." Now, you need to manage your land while supervising helots and staying battle ready. Can't work the land yourself, that would be beneath your dignity. And retirement? That's not an option until you're 60, assuming you live that long. Because whether you're 30 or 59, when those war horns blow, you better be ready to march. So here you are, at Thermopylae, age 45, standing with King Leonidas and your fellow Spartans. The Persian army ahead of you is so massive it drinks rivers dry. But hey, this is what all those years of character building were for, right? Talk about a final performance review. When the Persian messenger demands you surrender your weapons, Leonidas drops the most legendary red receipt in history. Come and take them. Classic Spartan energy. Why use 20 words when 3 will start a war just fine? Looking around at your battle buddies, you realize something interesting. All those brutal years of training weren't just about you turning into walking weapons. They were about creating an unbreakable bond between men who'd rather die standing than live kneeling. Though let's be honest, Spartans never learned how to kneel anyway. Bad for the posture. As the Persians' arrows literally block out the sun, someone makes peak Spartan small talk. Good news, we'll be fighting in the shade. And you laugh. Not because it's funny. Okay, it's a little funny. But because this is what Sparta built you for. Turning certain death into dark humor. That's basically the national sport. In your final moments, it hits you. This isn't about winning anymore. It's about showing the world what sacrifice looks like when it's wearing a really cool red cape. Your stand here isn't just about stopping Persians. It's about inspiring every Greek city-state to get off their philosophical backsides and actually unite for once. They'll tell stories about this day, probably with way better special effects than the reality. But they'll get one thing right. This wasn't just about 300 guys with great abs making a last stand. It was about showing the world that some things are worth dying for. Even if those things include really uncomfortable sandals and questionable fashion choices. So here's the final lesson from your Spartan life. Sometimes the biggest victory isn't in surviving, but in showing others how to live. And if you're going to go out, might as well do it in a way that people will be making movies about 2,500 years later. Not bad for someone who started life with a wine bath and a performance evaluation, right? Imagine growing up in a family where your siblings are literally your deadliest competition. Your stepmothers play politics like it's a blood sport, and family dinner usually requires a taste tester. Oh, and your dad's busy conquering half the world while expecting you to somehow prove you're worthy of eventually ruling it. Welcome to your life as Ogadai, third son of the Great Khan. Your first glimpse of life is a blur of faces. There's your birth mother, at least 17 stepmothers. You'll need a spreadsheet to keep track, and enough siblings to fill a small army. Another boy, someone announces. Great, just what this family needed. Another contestant in the deadliest reality show ever, keeping up with the Khans. Your father's busy conquering half the known world, so instead of a welcome to the family party, you get a quick assessment from the family elder. Strong legs, good for riding. Big lungs, good for war cries. Thanks for the detailed personality review, Grandma. Being the third son is like being the middle child in a family of sharks. Not quite the heir, not quite the spare. You're just there. Your older brothers, Jochi and Chagatai, are already fighting over who gets to inherit the empire, while you're just trying to figure out how to survive your first day without getting trampled by a herd of horses, accidentally misplaced by one of your ambitious stepmothers. And there's your first archery lesson, at age 2. Because in this family, if you can walk, you can shoot. Welcome to the rest of your life, kid. Hope you like horse milk, because that's basically all you've got in the break room. You're 5 years old and already learning that Mongol training makes military boot camp look like summer vacation. Your daily schedule: wake up at dawn, try not to get kicked by your horse, practice archery until your fingers bleed, and figure out which of your stepmothers actually remembers your name today. Higher, faster, you shoot like a sleepy goat. Your instructor yells as you try to hit the targets while galloping. Nothing like positive reinforcement, Mongol style. Your older brothers watch from their horses, betting on whether you'll fall off today. Joke's on them, you've already fallen 3 times, and your bruises have bruises. At this point, your body's mostly held together by spite and fermented mare's milk. Lunch break means your first taste of the family's favorite delicacy, horse meat. Eat up, your brother Chagatai grins, shoving a plate toward you. It's what makes a true warrior. The meat's so tough, it's like trying to chew leather armor. Think of it as endurance training for your jaw. Jochi laughs. You're pretty sure this particular horse was around when your father started conquering the world. Speaking of endurance, try living life on permanent road trip mode. Just when you've figured out which end of the yurt is least likely to collapse in the wind, it's time to move again. Back up, comes the order. Your father calls it strategic mobility. You call it never having a stable address for mail delivery. And then there's the cold. We're talking freeze your mare's milk mid-air cold. Negative 40 degrees? That's just Tuesday in Mongolia. Your siblings have a betting pool on who'll get frostbite first, while your eyebrows have more icicles than hair. Good thing we have all this horse meat to keep us warm, Chagatai jokes, while chipping ice off his saddle, though I can't tell if this meat is frozen or just extra tough today. Sword training comes next, and your siblings turn everything into a competition. Last one to draw blood has to clean the yurts. They call it practice, but it feels more like a very pointy version of family therapy. You're getting better though. Yesterday, you actually managed to block 3 strikes before face-planting in the dirt. Progress. Between dodging arrows, avoiding political schemes, and trying to remember which brother you're currently feuding with, you're somehow surviving. Though you can't help but notice how your father's training supervision consists mainly of reports from generals and occasional grunts of "don't die. Thanks, Dad." Really feeling the love. Your first real campaign arrives faster than your latest stepmother's addition to the family. Dad's finally decided you're ready to join the family business of aggressive real estate acquisition across Asia. The pressure's on. Time to prove you're more than just the awkward middle child who's surprisingly good at not dying. Try to keep up, little brother, Chagatai shouts as you ride out. Your position in the formation is about as prestigious as being the backup dancer in someone else's TikTok. You're technically part of the show, but nobody's really watching. By the time your father arrives with reinforcements, you've not only survived, but turned the ambush into a victory. Not completely terrible, he grunts, which, in Genghis Khan's emotional vocabulary, is basically a tearful embrace. Your brothers look at you differently now, a mix of surprise and newfound respect, though you're pretty sure Chagadai's already planning how to spin this story to make himself look better at the next family dinner. Welcome to Mongol court politics, where the drama's hotter than a desert campaign and twice as deadly. Even when everyone's stuck in the same yurt during a negative 40-degree winter storm, you're learning that surviving battle is actually the easy part. It's navigating family dinner that requires real strategic genius. Your brothers are playing 4D chess while you're still trying to figure out which of your father's advisors is actually spying for which stepmother. At least the freezing temperature keeps everyone too numb to successfully wield a poison dagger. Another drink? Asks a suspiciously friendly cousin. You've learned to check your cup like you check your saddle straps, thoroughly and with healthy paranoia. Being third in line means everyone thinks they can either use you or ignore you. Joke's on them. Being underestimated is like having an invisibility cloak in a court full of backstabbers. Your father's watching, though. Between conquests, he's playing his own game of succession. Yes, that's a double succession. It's that complicated. You start noticing how he tests each son differently. Jochi gets military commands, Chagatai gets administrative tasks, and you get increasingly challenging situations that seem suspiciously designed to test both your judgment and alcohol tolerance. Turns out those tests meant more than anyone expected. A month later, the entire empire gathers for what feels like the finale of the world's deadliest reality show, the succession announcement. The tension's so thick you could slice it with a ceremonial sword, which, knowing your family, someone might actually try. Your father stands before the gathering, looking like he's either about to name his heir or launch another invasion of China. With him, it's always a toss-up. Everyone's betting on either Jochi or Chagatai. You're just hoping to get through this without having to chug more fermented mare's milk than your liver can handle. My chosen successor, Genghis Khan announces, pausing for dramatic effect, like he's hosting Mongolia's Got Talent, is Ogadai. Wait, what? You nearly fall off your horse, which would have been really embarrassing for the newly announced future Khan. The crowd's reaction is a mix of shock, confusion, and rapid recalculation of political alliances. Your brother's hands instinctively move to their sword hilts, always a fun reaction at family gatherings, but your father is not done. Ogadai has what the empire needs, he declares, probably remembering all those times you've stopped your brothers from turning family dinner into a civil war. He can keep peace while you two are busy trying to stab each other. Well, that's definitely a compliment, even if it's basically saying you're the only one with enough common sense not to turn the empire into a family feud show. The next few hours are like the most awkward family reunion ever. Your older brothers are giving you looks that could curdle mare's milk, while your younger siblings suddenly remember your name. Stepmothers, who previously couldn't pick you out of a lineup, are now your biggest fans. They always said he was special, claims one who definitely called you whatever your name is just yesterday. You're starting to understand why your father chose you. Not because you're the strongest, smartest, or even the most sober, but because you're the only one who might actually keep this dysfunctional family from turning the Empire into history's biggest family feud. Though right now, you'd honestly prefer another ambush to more congratulatory hugs from relatives who may or may not be plotting your demise. 12 years later, and you've somehow survived being a con longer than anyone expected. Especially that one advisor who kept accidentally mixing up your drink orders. Now you're watching your own sons play out the same succession drama. Except this time, you're the one with the power to traumatize a new generation. Your drinking hasn't exactly improved with time, but at least now, when you get drunk and make questionable decisions, they're officially imperial decrees. Your Majesty, an advisor interrupts you, reminiscing. Your sons are fighting again. Apparently, one of them suggested the others should explore career opportunities in distant China. How thoughtful. The irony isn't lost on you. You're now the father watching his sons compete, just like Genghis did. But you've learned a few things about family management that your father never figured out. Instead of letting them plot against each other, you assign them joint projects. Nothing builds brotherly bonds like shared suffering, right? As you sit at your final feast, the weight of the Empire feels heavier than ever. Watching your sons squabble reminds you of your own youth, of endless competitions, family feuds, and the impossible task of living up to Genghis Khan's legacy. But through it all, one lesson stands out. Unity is the only thing stronger than ambition. You raise your cup, addressing your sons with unexpected clarity. An empire built on conquest is easy to win, but hard to keep. Remember this, strength is found not in swords or horses, but in the bonds we forge. Only together can you carry this legacy forward. Your final feast with Abd-ur-Rahman turns out to be more festive than planned. As the warmth of the wine spreads, you reflect on your life. You weren't the strongest or the fiercest, but you kept the empire intact, proving that leadership isn't about dominating others, it's about holding them together. In your final moments, you smile, thinking of your father. At least, you mutter, I kept them from killing each other, mostly. With that, you fade, leaving behind a lesson as enduring as the empire itself. Greatness lies not in conquest, but in building something worth preserving. Welcome to Texas, 1867, where your first memory isn't of candies or toys, but the distinct smell of manure that'll follow you for the rest of your life. Congratulations, you've been born into the least glamorous job in the American West. Those dime novels about heroic gunslingers? Pure fantasy. Your reality is going to involve a whole lot more cow dung and a whole lot less glory. By age 4, you're already learning the family business. Not because anyone's particularly eager to teach you, but because extra hands are needed and you're the closest pair available. Your toys are practical tools. A worn-out lariat and a half-broken bridle. And your playmates are the calves that need feeding. While city kids are learning their ABCs, you're learning which end of a cow kicks the hardest. First lesson of cowboy life hits you at age 6, when you watch your father come home with 3 broken ribs from a spooked horse. There's no doctor within 50 miles, so your mother just wraps him up with strips of old shirts and gets him back to work the next day. That's when you learn the cowboy's golden rule. You're not hurt enough to stop unless you're dead. Your education is practical, to say the least. Reading and writing take a backseat to more essential skills, like how to tell if a snake is poisonous before it tells you itself, or how to make coffee strong enough to wake up a dead man, which, given the hours you'll be working, is exactly what you'll need. Congratulations, you've just turned 13, and you're about to start your first real job as the lowest rank in the cowboy hierarchy. Your yearly salary? A whopping $25, which works out to about 7 cents a day. Welcome to the bottom rung of the ladder, kid. Home is now a crowded bunkhouse where you share space with a dozen unwashed cowboys. Your bed is a crude mattress stuffed with straw, and your pillow is your saddle. When you actually get to sleep, that is. See, as the newest and youngest, you get all the jobs nobody else wants, starting with the 3 a.m. shift of watching the horses. Speaking of horses, they're your constant companions now. Your job is to manage the remuda, the backup horses for the real cowboys. Each cowhand needs 3 to 4 fresh horses per day. And guess who's responsible for keeping track of about 50 half-wild broncs in the dark? That's right, you. One lost horse means a day's wages gone. The veterans don't make it easy either. "Hey, Greenie," they shout, tossing you a rawhide lariat that's stiffer than a frozen rope. "Let's see if you can catch that bay mare." What they don't tell you is that the mare's been playing this game with rookies for years. At least the dirt is soft when you faceplant. But slowly, through endless repetition and more than a few bruises, you're learning how to read a horse's intentions by the flick of its ears, how to throw a loop that actually catches something besides your own foot, how to stay awake in the saddle even when your whole body feels like one giant bruise. Welcome to Cowboy Finishing School. The graduation means surviving long enough to get a real shot at handling cattle. Finally, you graduated from horse wrangler to full-fledged trailhand on the Chris Holm Trail. 1,000 miles of pure misery stretches between you and Kansas, with 3,000 cattle that seem determined to die in the most creative ways possible. Your pay? $1 a day, assuming you make it to Abilene without getting yourself killed first. Nobody warned you about the storms. Out here on the plains, lightning doesn't just strike. It puts on a show that would make the devil himself nervous. Your slicker's about as waterproof as a fishing net. That expensive new hat you bought, it now looks like something the cattle stepped on, which they probably did. Meals are a special kind of torture, courtesy of the camp cook and his rickety wagon kitchen, the chuck wagon, as everyone calls it. Breakfast is coffee strong enough to float a horseshoe, beans, and biscuits that could double as ammunition. Dinner is, well, beans. Again, maybe with some salt pork if you're lucky. And lunch? That's what the dust is for filling your belly while you ride. Then there's the Texas quick step. That's what cowboys politely call dysentery when ladies are around. Bad water, spoiled food, and no chance to wash your hands means your guts are constantly at war with whatever you manage to eat. No rest stops on the trail either. You just keep riding and praying you can clench tight enough to make it through your shift. More than one good cowhand has been found face down in the dirt. Not from a bullet or a bronc, but from something as simple as drinking from the wrong stream. Your daily routine is brutally simple. Up at 3 a.m. for the morning watch, saddle a fresh horse, and push the herd from dawn to dusk. 15 miles is a good day, assuming nothing goes wrong. But something always goes wrong. Maybe it's a stampede triggered by a lightning strike, or a river crossing where the current's running higher than expected. Each disaster is a unique blend of terror and exhaustion, served with a side of wet saddle sores. Night watch is its own special hell. 2 hours of riding circles around sleeping cattle, singing off-key to keep them calm. Your throat's raw from dust and bad coffee. Your backside feels like it's been sandpapered, and you're so tired you start hallucinating that the cows are playing poker. But you can't fall asleep. One snoozing cowboy can mean a stampede that costs everyone their wages. River crossings are when you earn every cent of that $1-a-day wage. Quicksand, sudden drop-offs, and bandit cattle make every crossing a gamble. You've seen good cowboys disappear under those muddy waters. Their bodies found downstream days later. The cattle, they're worth more than you are. About $40 a head in Abilene. You're replaceable. They aren't. Back at the ranch, winter hits like a hammer. That one-room bunkhouse you share with a dozen others, its walls have more holes than your socks. And that tiny stove burns through firewood faster than your wages burn through your pocket. At least the body heat from 14 unwashed cowboys keeps the place above freezing, mostly. Your day starts in the dark, breaking ice on water troughs with numb fingers. That fancy rope trick you learned? Useless when your lariat's frozen stiff as a poker. The cattle need feeding regardless of the weather, and the hay doesn't move itself. Your whole life becomes an endless cycle of hauling feed, thawing water, and praying none of the herd decides to die in a snowdrift. Spring brings its own special brand of misery, roundup time. Time to find every calf born over winter, brand them, and doctor the ones that survived but wish they hadn't. Your pay stays the same, $25 a month, while the ranch owner sells each calf for $40. The math isn't hard, even for a cowboy who never finished school. Then there's the fences, miles of them. Thanks to that newfangled barbed wire. Every broken strand needs fixing. Every post that heaves from the frost needs resetting. The wire bites through your gloves like they're paper, leaving your hands look like you've been wrestling wildcats.
They say the invention of the barbed wire civilized the West. They never mentioned it also turned cowboys into glorified handymen. Nights are the worst. The isolation creeps in with the darkness, broken only with the occasional letter from home, if you can still write well enough to read your own address. The nearest town's a 2-day ride, and that's assuming good weather. Your social life consists of Saturday night poker games where you lose what little money you've saved, but at least it breaks the monotony of talking to your horse. Life in the bunkhouse is a crash course in social dynamics nobody prepared you for. Being one of 4 white cowboys among black, Mexican, and Native American cowhands teaches you quick that skill matters more than skin color when a stampede's bearing down. Though back in town, those same men who saved your life last week can't drink at the same saloon as you. One of the bitter pills you're forced to swallow. Saturday nights in the bunkhouse tell the real story of a cowboy's prospects. Old Pete's been riding these ranges for 30 years. And what's he got to show for it? A bad back, a tin cup, and enough stories to fill a book nobody will ever write. The young ones still dream of owning their own spread someday, but the math's against them. A small ranch costs more than they'll earn in 20 years of cowboying. Marriage? That's a luxury few cowboys can afford. The ranch owner's daughter might smile at you during Sunday service, but her father's got plans that don't include a dirt poor cowhand. Most ranches won't even hire married cowboys. Can't have family obligations getting in the way of your work. Your best prospect for female company is the cook's cross-eyed niece who visits once a year. The social ladder is shorter than a broken laureate. Trail boss is about as high as you can climb, and those positions usually go to the owner's relatives. Meanwhile, every season brings a new crop of eager youngsters willing to work for even less than you make. The cowboy's golden rule becomes clear. The only way up is out. But where do you go when all you know is cows and horses? By 40, you're already an old man in a young man's game. Your joints predict the weather better than any barometer. And that shoulder you dislocated in 73 screams every time you rope a steer. The youngsters call you old-timer now, though you notice they quiet down when storm clouds gather, hoping to learn from your weather-worn wisdom. The world changing faster than a spring storm rolls in. Barbed wires carved up the open range. Railroads have shortened the long drives, and those newfangled automobiles are starting to spook the horses. The era of the open range cowboy is fading, like morning mist on the prairie. But here's the thing about being a cowboy. It was never really about the glory or the freedom folks write about in those dime novels. It was about doing what needed doing, no matter how hard or thankless. Every scar, every broken bone, every endless night watch taught the same lesson. True grit isn't about being tough. It's about being tough enough to keep going when everything tells you to quit. Maybe that's the real legacy of the American cowboy. Not the myths or the legends, but the simple truth that some things are worth doing right. Even when they're harder than breaking a wild Mustang. Even when they suck.
Welcome to Rome, where your first memory isn't of your mother's smile or your childhood home. It's the metallic taste of a slave collar and some fat merchant poking your muscles like you're a prize cow at auction. Congratulations, you've just been selected for the Empire's most brutal career path, where entry-level position means probably going to die. And your retirement plan is a wooden sword, if you're lucky. That noise you hear? That's 50,000 Romans deciding whether you live or die. Like a deadly version of those modern talent shows. Except here, getting voted off early means exactly what you think it means. And unlike those shows, you can't even choose your audition piece. Your new home is the Ludus. Think of it as the world's worst boarding school, where the cafeteria only serves beans, the gym coach is trying to kill you, and graduation means fighting a guy with a fishing net who's way too excited about his job. The good news? You get 3 meals a day. The bad news? They're all beans. Welcome to the glamorous life of a slave gladiator, where even the medical care is a mixed blessing. Sure, you got the best doctors in Rome, but trust me, you're going to need them. Oh, and that sound? That's your new alarm clock. Because in this career path, hitting snooze isn't an option, unless you want to hit the afterlife instead. Your first lesson in gladiator school? The only thing worse than dying in the arena is disappointing your lanista, the charming fellow who owns you and runs this delightful establishment. At least in the arena, death is quick. But hey, look on the bright side. You're about to become famous. Sure, it's because people are betting on whether you'll survive your next fight, but in a world without Instagram, you take what you can get. And who knows, maybe you'll be the next Spartacus. Just maybe don't mention that name around the guards. They're still a bit sensitive about the whole rebellion thing. Welcome to the Ludus, your new home sweet hellhole. First order of business, taking the gladiator's oath, which basically goes, I solemnly swear to be burned, chained, beaten, and killed by the sword. Not exactly the Hogwarts sorting ceremony, is it? And unlike other schools, dropping out involves a lot more actual dropping, usually from sword wounds. Your daily routine starts at dawn, where you and your fellow students practice hitting wooden posts until your arms feel like overcooked pasta. The trainer, calling him a teacher would be way too generous, helpfully demonstrates proper sword technique by occasionally trying to kill you. Think of it as pop quiz, where failing means, well, actually failing to pop ever again. Remember those 3 meals a day I mentioned? Here's your gourmet menu. Morning, beans and barley. Noon, barley and beans. Evening, surprise, more beans. They say it builds muscle. Really, it just builds an impressive amount of gas in the barracks. Nothing says fearsome warrior quite like crop dusting your way through training. Now for the fun part, choosing your fighting style. Except you don't choose, your Lanista does. Maybe you'll be a Murmillo, wearing a helmet that makes your head look like a fish. Very intimidating. Or perhaps a Retiarius, the guy with the net and trident who basically does deadly fishing. There's also the Threx, who fights with a tiny shield and curved sword, because apparently regular sword fighting isn't challenging enough. Each style comes with its own special way of getting hurt. The Murmillo's helmet might protect your head, but it also means you can't see that mace coming for your kneecaps. The Retiarius gets the joy of fighting practically naked. Hope you didn't skip leg day. And the Threx, that curved sword is great for getting around shields, but try blocking a straight thrust with it. Spoiler alert, you can't. At least the medical care is top notch. The Bonesetter knows you by name. The Moonstitcher saves your favorite cod. And the Herb Guy has his special poultice ready just for you. It's like having a personal healthcare plan, except you have to get stabbed to use it. Remember your first day of school? This is worse. The arena gates open and suddenly you're squinting in the sunlight like a mole who took a wrong turn. Except this mole is wearing 30 pounds of armor and carrying a sword that feels suspiciously heavier than the wooden one you trained with. Fun fact, that's actual fear adding the extra weight. The crowd's already picked their favorite. And spoiler alert, it's probably not you, newbie. They've got this sophisticated voting system for whether you live or die. Thumbs up means you live. Thumbs down means, well, let's just say you won't need to worry about tomorrow's bean ration. It's like social media, but instead of getting canceled, you get canceled permanently. Your first opponent is probably another rookie. The Lanisas aren't complete idiots. They've invested too much in your training to throw you straight to the lions. Although sometimes they do exactly that. Because apparently regular sword fighting isn't entertaining enough. Nothing adds excitement to your day quite like a hungry tiger using your shield as a chew toy. Different matches require different survival strategies. Fighting a Retiarius? Watch out for that net. It's not just for show, and getting tangled up makes you look like a fish flopping around at a market. Facing a Threx? Keep your distance. That curved sword can hook around your shield and ruin your whole day. And if you're up against a Murmillo, just remember, that fishbowl helmet limits their vision. Too bad they make up for it by hitting like an angry rhinoceros. The reality of injuries? They hurt. A lot. And they're creative too. You haven't lived until you've had the medicus pop your shoulder back in while giving you a lecture about proper shield positioning. If you just let your guard up, he says, jamming herbs into your wound, I wouldn't have to keep stitching you up like your mother's favorite toga. But here's the real trick to survival. Entertainment. The crowd doesn't just want blood, they want a show. Make them laugh, give them drama, become their favorite, and you might just survive even if you lose. Think of it as Rome's Got Talent, where the prize is staying alive and the consolation prize is, well, let's keep it positive. At least the beans in the afterlife can't be worse than the ones in the Ludus. Congratulations, you've survived long enough to become famous. Your face is on clay pots. Kids play with little wooden dolls of you, and rich women swoon when you walk by. You're basically a Roman rock star, except you still sleep in a cell and your manager owns you. Literally. The really weird part? People collect your sweat. No, seriously, they scrape it off with these little curved sticks and put it in bottles to sell as souvenirs or love potions. Nothing says, I'm a celebrity, quite like strangers bottling your body fluids. Take that, modern influencers, with your mere sponsored posts. Back at the Ludus, you've got your gladiator family. Emphasis on got because you don't exactly have a choice. There's old Marcus, who won't shut up about his glory days. Young Brutus, who's definitely not living up to his name. Seriously, the kid apologizes to training dummies. And that weird guy who talks to his sword. But they're your brothers in arms. Literally, because you might have to fight them tomorrow. Then there's the groupies. Noble women send you love notes, which would be flattering if you could read. They show up at training to watch you exercise, fan themselves dramatically, and pretend the smell of sweaty gladiators and beans is somehow arousing. Pro tip, never mention the beans when they're around. Really kills the mysterious warrior vibe. Politics in the arena is its own special game. The emperor's watching, the wealthy patrons are plotting, and somehow your life becomes a betting chip in their power plays. One day you're fighting your heart out, the next you're told to lose dramatically because some senator bet against you. At least make it look good. You're not just fighting for your life anymore, you're performing for your dinner. And yes, dinner is still beans. The sacred wooden sword, the Rudis. Your ticket to freedom looks like a practice weapon, which is Rome's way of having one final laugh at your expense. But hey, beats the alternative with an accessory, the coffin. There are three main ways to get one. Survive long enough, win enough, or make the crowd love you enough. Simple, right? Just like avoiding death is simple. Some guys actually made it. Take Spiculus. Fought so well that Emperor Nero gave him palaces and treated him like a son. Though given what happened to Nero's actual family, maybe that wasn't the best deal. Then there's Marcus Attilius, who started as a free man, went broke, became a gladiator, and won enough fights to earn his freedom again. Talk about a career change. But for every success story, there's a dozen failures. Remember that guy who won 99 fights then lost his 100th? Neither does anyone else. That's the thing about arena fame. It's great until it isn't. One bad day, one slow dodge, one missed block, and suddenly you're that cautionary tale the trainers tell the rookies. Here's the thing about being a slave gladiator that nobody tells you. It teaches you something about what matters. Not the fame, not the clay pots with your face on them, not even the swooning noble women. What matters is how you face each day, each fight, each moment when the gates open. Because in the end, true freedom isn't just about getting that wooden sword. It's about finding the courage to keep standing up when life knocks you down. About maintaining your humanity when the world treats you like a commodity. Maybe that's why some of us choose to keep fighting even after getting our freedom. Not for the roar of the crowd or the thrill of victory, but because we've learned something that comfortable citizens never will. That sometimes the greatest triumph isn't in winning the fight, but in choosing which battles are worth fighting for. Though let's be honest, choosing better meals than beans is definitely still high on the priority list. You slide into the world in a dimly lit room of a remote mountain village in feudal Japan. No celebration, no fancy announcement, just hushed voices and worried looks. Whoops, first lesson of ninja life, making noise gets you killed. Look, they take shut up very seriously around here. Your mother wraps you tightly and whispers, "Welcome to the Iga clan, little shadow." Your parents don't even tell you their real names. Trust is a luxury, kid. You learn to answer to fake names before you even learn to walk. While other babies get cute mobiles above their cribs, you get a collection of shuriken dangling over your head. Not a toy, kid. Some babies get lullabies. Your first bedtime story is about how grandpa got poisoned for sneezing at the wrong time. You're barely crawling when your training begins. Other toddlers are learning to stack blocks. You're learning to hold your breath underwater for increasingly uncomfortable amounts of time. Again, your sensei says with zero emotion. Longer this time. Fantastic childhood memories being made here. By age 4, you're already climbing trees, scaling walls, and falling. A lot. No crying allowed though. Pain is weakness leaving the body. Or so your instructors keep saying. You're pretty sure it's just pain, but nobody asks for your opinion. Your playmates are actual training partners who are instructed to attack you when you least expect it. Surprise! Mealtime ambush. Welcome to a life where even dinner might kill you. The good news is you get toys. The bad news, they're all weapons. Happy birthday. Here's your real kunai knife. Try not to stab yourself. Or do. Because apparently, learning from mistakes means bleeding profusely while bandaging yourself. While normal kids are learning, reading, and math, your education has some unique additions. Today's lesson, the 17 vital points of the human body, ranked by how quickly they cause death. Schoolyard notes, more like encrypted death threats. Meet me by the river actually means ambush training at dawn. For homework, you'll be mixing your first batch of poison. Whoops, that wasn't supposed to happen. Your instructor sighs. That would have killed you instantly if you tasted it. Progress. At age 7, you begin your stealth training in earnest. Hours spent standing in freezing streams to mask your scent and presence. The best part, if you move or make noise, you get to start over. Such fun! You learn to walk without making a sound, which would be a more impressive skill if anyone was around to notice. But the whole point is that no one notices. Congratulations on your completely unwitnessed achievements. By 10, you're learning the ways of disguise and deception. Too obvious. A merchant wouldn't wear his beard like that. You spend hours studying how normal people act so you can blend in with them, which is ironic since you've never been allowed to be normal even for a minute. You're basically researching a foreign culture without leaving your village. Your diet is another thrill. While other kids enjoy tasty meals, you're being fed strange herbs and gradually exposed to common poisons to build immunity. Dinner conversation is a treat too. If you can taste the poison, it means you need more practice identifying it faster. Ah yes, the familiar taste of nightshade with hints of oak and a terrible stomach cramp finish. Exquisite. Your teenage years bring the joy of actual missions. Your first assignment sounds simple enough. Deliver a message to a neighboring village without being seen. Totally normal teenage stuff. Don't move a muscle. The dog loses interest and moves on. Mission accomplished? Not quite. Your sensei was following you the whole time. I saw you 3 times. Do it again. The hardest part isn't even the physical training. It's the mental isolation. No emotions, no friendships. Smiling at the wrong person, that's how you end up vanishing permanently. You can't have normal friends because normal people can't know what you are. Your only companions are fellow ninja trainees who are also your competitors. Nothing builds camaraderie like knowing your bunkmate might be ordered to kill you someday. By 16, you're a fully operational shinobi, and life only gets more exciting. Your first real infiltration mission has you hiding in the ceiling rafters of an enemy lord's castle for 3 days straight. 3 days of not moving, not speaking, barely breathing, and peeing in a special container because ninja bathroom breaks aren't a thing. The glamour is overwhelming. Dating? Forget about it. Any relationship would be a security risk. Though there is that cute ninja from the neighboring clan. Wait, are they here on a mission to gather intelligence on your clan? Are you on a mission to gather intelligence on their clan? Are we in love or are we just testing each other's reaction times? Hard to say. Advanced training introduces you to the exciting world of torture resistance. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, unless it maims you permanently, which happens with disturbing frequency. Your clan keeps a collection of retired ninjas missing various body parts as a cheerful reminder of your possible futures. But hey, at least they're alive, which is more than many can say. Let's talk about your glamorous wardrobe. The iconic all-black outfit is actually rarely used. Mostly you dress like a boring peasant or merchant because the point is not to look like a ninja. The cool ninja gear is saved for night missions, or when you're specifically supposed to be terrifying. Most days you're wearing scratchy peasant garb or pretending to be interested in the price of radishes. The myth about ninja abilities are greatly exaggerated too. No, you can't actually disappear in a puff of smoke. That's just a clever use of distraction and terrain. You can't walk on water either, though you've gotten really good at using those special water shoes to distribute your weight on lily pads for short distances. Not quite the supernatural powers everyone talks about. For all your training and skills, much of your job involves extremely boring surveillance. Turns out, most conversations you overhear are about crop yields or complaints about the weather, but you dutifully report everything. The daimyo's cousin had fish for dinner and complained about his hemorrhoids again. Crucial intelligence. The pay is terrible too. While samurais get stipends and status, you get secrecy. Can't exactly put expert assassin on your resume when seeking retirement options. Your rewards are typically just not being executed for failure, and occasionally some extra rice. Living the dream. By your 30s, if you survive this long, you're considered a senior shinobi. Your knees hurt constantly from all that crouching in uncomfortable positions. You've got at least 3 partially healed stab wounds and that one shoulder that never quite rotated properly after that rooftop escape went wrong. But now you get to train the next generation of miserable shadow warriors. Circle of life. The real fun starts when the rival clan decides your group knows too many secrets. Nothing says job security like having your entire village targeted for extermination. Political alliances shift faster than you can say, we're supposed to be on the same side. And suddenly, yesterday's employer is today's assassin. And retirement? That's adorable. Most ninjas don't live long enough to worry about a pension plan. But if you do retire, you get to live a quiet life. By which I mean, you keep looking over your shoulder until the day you die. The lucky ones eventually become trainers or intelligence analysts. The unlucky ones? Well, there's a reason your clan has so many unmarked graves. Of course, there's always the alternative. Fake your own death and live as a fisherman. Just hope your enemies don't like sushi. Your glory days of stealth and espionage gradually give way to mentoring the next generation. You watch the bright-eyed young recruits and think about telling them the truth, that a lifetime of operating in the shadows leaves you with chronic pain, paranoia, and the inability to form normal human connections. But instead, you just demonstrate the proper way to throw a shuriken for the 1000th time. In your final years, you realize the ultimate irony. You've spent your entire life being someone else, hiding in plain sight, and now, no one, not even you, knows who you really are. You've become the ultimate disguise, a ghost even before death. I've worn 1,000 faces, and yet I have no idea what my own looks like. Maybe I'm just a very dangerous nobody. One night, you sense a presence in your room. A talented young shinobi from a rival clan has been sent to eliminate you. You could wake up and defend yourself, but instead you keep your breathing steady. Perhaps this is how it should end. One shadow consumed by another. As the blade descends, you have just one thought. Next time, definitely choose to be born a boring farmer instead. You're 7 years old in 18th century Kyoto when a strange woman visits your family home. She examines your face like you're a prize melon at the market, turns your hands over, checks your ears. Weird flex, but okay. Next thing you know, your parents are accepting money, and you're being whisked away in a fancy palanquin. Congratulations! You've been hand-selected for the most exclusive girls' club in Japan. Too bad no one asked if you wanted to join. First night, and you're already missing home when the door slides open. In walks the most stunning creature you've ever seen. White face, red lips, hair styled higher than your family's entire house. She smells like flowers and moves like water. A real-life geisha. You're starstruck until she notices you staring. Fetch my tea, you little rat. Dream meet reality. Day 1 and you're already learning the pecking order. You rank somewhere between the house cat and yesterday's rice. While other 7-year-olds play with dolls, you're learning how to kneel for hours without your legs falling off. Fun childhood, right? The house mother corrects you when you call the women geisha. In Kyoto, we are geiko. Tokyo has geisha. Learn the difference or scrub floors forever. Geography lesson complete. 4 months in and you've mastered the fine art of walking silently, breathing invisibly, and disappearing instantly. You've been smacked with the fan 17 times for various crimes like existing too loudly and blinking incorrectly. One evening, the house mother orders you to serve tea to an important guest. Your hands shake so hard you're basically creating waves in the teacup. Don't spill, don't spill. You manage to set it down without a disaster. Then, without thinking, you turn the cup so its design faces the guest. Exactly like you've seen the geiko do. The house mother raises an eyebrow. The senior geiko actually looks at you. Not through you, but at you. The girl has potential, she says. 3 words. That's it. But suddenly, you're floating. Someone noticed. Someone approved. For the first time, you're not just a servant, but a student of something ancient and exclusive. You still sleep on a threadbare futon in the corner, though. Let's not get carried away with the optimism. 3 years in, and your back has permanently curved into the perfect bowing shape. Evolution has nothing on geisha training. Morning routine, wake before the sun. Stretch your legs until they scream. Practice walking with a book on your head. Then 2 books. Then add a cup of water. Spill a drop, start over. Your neck muscles could now support a small building. Afternoons are for shamisen practice. 3 hours of plucking strings with your fingertips until they bleed, then callus, then bleed again. Other girls your age are chasing boys. You're chasing perfect pitch and losing fingernails in the process. The music teacher smacks your hand with a bamboo stick. She's 80 years old but has the aim of an archer. You're basically playing musical dodgeball with your fingers as the ball. Dinner comes with a side of etiquette lessons. 37 different ways to pour sake, 23 ways to complement a man's business success without actually knowing what his business does, 15 acceptable conversation topics, and 300 forbidden ones. Quiz tomorrow. By 13, you've memorized every kimono pattern in the house. You can identify a geiko's rank, specialty, and even personality from her obi knot alone. Useless skills everywhere else in the world. Essential currency in yours. Then comes the day. The house mother calls all 4 shikomi to the main room. 4 girls enter. 3 will remain servants. 1 will begin formal maiko training. Your heart pounds so hard you're sure everyone can see her kimono moving. Then she looks at you. This one, she knows how to watch and listen. She'll begin training next month. You made the cut. Now, the real work begins. The next few years are a blur of advanced training. Dance is so complex your feet develop their own vocabulary. Music lessons where missing a single note earns you a rap on the knuckles. By 15, you're finally ready for your debut. The day before your Miss Hidashi, you're ordered to strip down and soak in a wooden tub. 3 senior geiko inspect every inch of your body like you're a racehorse. Too thin, one mutters. Good neck, says another. Small chest. Easier for the kimono, adds the third. You're officially reduced to a collection of parts, not a person. Transformation day arrives. The makeup artist approaches with a pot of white paint. Don't move, don't speak, don't breathe too hard. She applies a base layer that feels like wet cement on your face. Your skin screams beneath it. Beauty is pain, and apparently also partial suffocation. The hairdresser has the muscle definition of a sumo wrestler. She tugs, pulls, and molds your hair into a structure that could withstand a typhoon. Hundreds of pins dig into your scalp, each one a tiny dagger with its own personality. You name the most painful one Stabby McStabberson. Now for the kimono. Not just any kimono. A furisode with sleeves so long they practically drag on the floor. Price tag? More than your entire okiya makes in 3 months. Final touches. 6-inch wooden sandals that transform walking into an extreme balancing act. You're now a walking, talking national treasure. Unlike the senior geiko who wear wigs, your elaborate hairstyle is your actual hair, which explains why you'll sleep on that wooden neck block for the next few years. Beauty is pain, sleep is optional. Also, you kind of need to pee, but that's not happening until the evening. Your one-san guides you to your first tea house. Remember, she whispers, you're not selling your body. You're selling access to a fantasy. The fantasy that beauty and art still matter in this world. First customer interaction. A wealthy merchant. Sake-reddened face. You pour his drink exactly as practiced. He compliments your innocent beauty. Your one-san laughs at exactly the right moment, drawing his attention away. Lesson 1. Redirection is your best defense. A handsome young patron requests you specifically at his business gathering. Your heart does a little flip, betraying your professional cool. Your one-san notices immediately. After the party, her advice is blunt. Hearts are terrible investments in our business. Admiration is currency. Attachment is debt. Cold, but she's not wrong. At 17, you're given your first solo dance performance at a major festival. Your stomach performs its own interpretive dance routine of pure terror. The shamisen begins. Your fan becomes an extension of your arm. Your body tells a story of seasons changing. Love found and lost. The final note hangs in the air. Silence. Then, thunderous applause. A famous poet approaches. For a moment, he says, I forgot you were human. You became the wind, the rain, the very spirit of the dance. For the first time, you understand. You're not just learning the art. You are becoming the art itself. 2 years as a maiko and you've mastered the art of the double life. Public you, a floating vision of grace, who never sweats, never tires, never needs to pee. Private you, collapse on your futon at 3 a.m., makeup still half on, too exhausted to care that your hairpins are stabbing your dreams. Your okiya keeps a ledger thicker than your arms. Every silk sock, every hair ornament, every shamisen lesson, all tracked down to the last coin. Your debt resembles the national treasury. You once made the mistake of asking how long until you're debt-free. The house mother laughed so hard she nearly choked on her tea. You develop tricks for surviving back-to-back appointments. Sake cup, barely touch your lips to it, and then subtly empty it in a plant when no one's looking. The ficus in the corner of your favorite tea house is perpetually drunk. You swear it started singing after midnight. You perfect the art of the subtle compliment that makes a man feel 10 feet tall without realizing you've manipulated his ego. Your reputation grows. The one with the knowing eyes, they call you. It's exhausting. Like being a therapist in fantastic clothes with better pay and worse hours. You start noticing distinct versions of yourself. Tea house you, dance performance you, Festival you, private training you, different masks for different moments. Sometimes you wonder which one is actually real. Maybe they all are, maybe none. 3 years in and your debt still looks insurmountable. Then one night, a famous actor visits from the capital. At evening's end, he leaves payments so generous, the house mother's eyes actually widen. She never blinks at money. Never. A week later, she slides a wooden box across the table. Inside, an exquisite Kanzashi hair ornament of tortoiseshell and gold. Not loaned from the Okiya. Yours to keep. You've earned this, she says simply. Your first personal possession. A tiny thing to some, but to you, the first tangible evidence that someday you might actually own your life again. Your erike ceremony marks your transition from maiko to full geiko. The red collar turns white. The elaborate hairpieces get simplified. Your style becomes subtler, more refined. Less look at me, more you wish you could be me. Financial reality check, you're still in debt. But now you control more of your earnings. The house mother takes a smaller cut. You negotiate your own appointments. Suddenly, you're not just an artist. You're a business. A business wrapped in silk with perfect posture. But still, you learn to wield silence like a weapon. A raised eyebrow, a thoughtful pause, the slight tilt of your head. These tiny gestures carry more power than hour-long speeches. You could probably start or prevent a war with the right look at the right moment to the right official. With a reliable Dana, you can afford to be selective. No more entertaining every drunk merchant who requests you. No more laughing at jokes that deserve silence. You cultivate a circle of patrons who appreciate art, conversation, and boundaries. Revolutionary concept. Your schedule follows the rhythm of Japan's seasons. Busiest during spring cherry blossoms and fall foliage, when wealthy patrons host viewing parties. Your kimono changes with the seasons too, from winter's heavy silk to summer's lightweight weave. At 25, the house mother assigns you your first maiko to mentor. She's all elbows and anxiety, this girl. Reminds you of someone. You watch her fumble through her first tea ceremony and find yourself saying, again, in the exact tone your teacher used with you. The cycle continues. At 28, you reach a milestone. Your Okiya debt is paid in full. The house mother presents you with your cleared account book and a small cup of sake. You are now working for your future, not your past, she says. You sip the sake, and it tastes like possibility. 30 hits different in geisha years. Your knees crack during dance practice. Your back complains after hours of sitting perfectly straight. Your body keeps a ledger of debts just like the Okiya did, and it's starting to call them due. You adapt. Strategic scheduling of rest days. The perfect excuse to leave gatherings at exactly the right moment. So sorry I have a special appointment. Translation, my feet are killing me and I need to faceplant onto my futon immediately. The perfect kneeling position that once felt as natural as breathing now sends shooting pains up your legs after an hour. You develop ingenious techniques for appearing perfectly composed while actually shifting your weight every few minutes. It's like running a marathon while pretending to be a statue. You open a small, exclusive tea house with your savings. Not an Okiya. You don't want the responsibility of raising new geiko, but a space where you control the atmosphere, the clientele, the experience. Your reputation draws the elite automatically. Your terms are non-negotiable. They come anyway. Some successful geiko before you chose to marry patrons and retire. Others purchased their own Okiya, becoming businesswomen in a time when female entrepreneurs were practically unheard of. You're part of a rare tradition of women who could actually own property and run businesses. A famous artist asks to paint your portrait for a temple commission. When he reveals the finished work, you're startled to see yourself immortalized alongside images of ancient poetry, sumo, and imperial court traditions. You're no longer just practicing tradition. You've become part of it. At 40, you hear a tourist call you the last of a dying art. You smile politely while mentally dismissing their ignorance. Looking at your students, at the packed schedule of your tea house, at the continued demand for what only geiko can provide, you know better. What began as an unexpected life sentence has transformed into a consciously chosen path. One evening, sitting in your private room after the last client has left, you trace the faint laugh lines hidden beneath your white makeup. You think about the terrified 7-year-old who entered the Okiya all those years ago. At 40, tourists snap photos of you like you're an endangered species. Little do they know, even in modern Japan, young women still choose this path. Fewer than in your day, true, but the art continues. You're not a relic, you're a link in an unbroken chain. We did all right, you whisper to her across time. In a world racing endlessly forward, you've become a living bridge to something timeless. And that's worth every cracking knee, every early morning and every perfect bow along the way.